Hey everybody, we got a great episode for you coming up. We got a TACP FTU student. He's graduated by now by the time you're watching this, but it's a great episode. Aaron was able to jump in there with him and knock it out. Really hope you enjoy it. But before that, make sure you check out Eberlestock.com. Get yourself some good kit. Our promo code for that is OR10. That's OR10. Check them out though. They've got tech apparel. They've got bags. They got bags for traveling, hunting, military, law enforcement, whatever you need, they can get you sorted. Also, if you are going to prep for the pipeline, whether that's TACP, PJ, CCT, SR, or, anything really, check out 18alphafitness.com. Use our code 1READY. It is the number 1 READY. And Kevin's got a bunch of programs that are tailored to you. He's not just giving you workouts and saying, hey, go out and go do it, and then never touching base with you or anything like that. Like, he knows your timeline, he knows what your goals are, and he knows what pipeline you're going for. So he's going to help develop a plan for you to get you where you need to be in that time allotted. And then lastly, I know I'm hitting with you a lot here, check out drinkhoist.com. They've got IV level hydration for you, whether it's ready to drink in pouches, so you mix it in with some water, or they even have a new release that are these little like flimsy kind of pouches that are able to stuff in a pocket, and they're still ready to drink, but they're not like a hard plastic. They're just kind of soft and can go into pockets really easily. So great flavors, great tasting. They've been friends of ours for quite some time. So we love promoting them, and also our promo code for that is ONESREADY. So please check them out, and then like, subscribe, all that kind of good stuff, that you hear from every single YouTuber that's out there. And then more importantly, enjoy the show, really.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the One's Ready podcast. I know this is going to come as quite a shock to everybody that actually likes the other personalities better than me, but too bad. It's me, and I got a special guest for you this week. We got a TACP NCO just about to graduate, phase 2, the TACP FTU. So getting out there, getting the JTAC qual, and has fresh experience from the pipeline. So before we hop into this sweet and juicy episode of the podcast, just want to say thanks for everybody that follows us, that checks on the Instagram account, that leaves comments or questions. Check out the Discord. Check us out at onesready.com. We got reading lists and everything that you need to be successful in AFSPECWAR. But enough yapping from me. Hey, my friend, thanks for coming on. We really appreciate it. How you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you, man?
Man, I'm doing fantastic. There you are. You're out in Vegas. You're living the dream. You're so close. At the time of the recording, you're never supposed to tell anybody when you record these things because we don't know when we're going to release it. But we're gonna quick turn this one. But how's it feel? First and foremost, you were a couple days away from realizing your dream. How excited are you right now?
It's a great feeling, to be honest with you, brother. I think a lot of us feel that way right now. Myself personally, it's been about a 3-year pipeline for me. I had a couple setbacks, but pushed through them. So now knowing that, hey, man, I just passed the last final thing, and now I'm about to get that JTAC patch is really something special for me. And it's an awesome feeling. It's kind of weight taken off, it's nice.
Oh, absolutely, man. And I feel the same way as you. I distinctly remember that time at, the last FTX and, the pararescue schoolhouse. You got done. You're not graduated yet, but you're done. No more graded events. You're not waking up tomorrow for an eval. I just remember, just like you said, that weight being lifted off your shoulders and just feeling great, man. So kudos to you.
It's almost like every day feels like Friday now.
Bulletproof Friday, baby. Ain't nobody quitting on Friday.
Right.
So let's take it all the way back to the beginning. You got a really interesting story. As I mentioned, you're an NCO that just completed the pipeline, but you started your life out in the Army and you were on the part-time side. So walk us through what you did in the Army.
Yeah, sorry. One of the boys was trying to call me. That's how they go. Being an NCO, you always got guys calling you for something. So, starting from my beginning of the story, I was a prior service Army guy. Got in when I was 17, very young, and I was an intel guy, all source intel. Kind of a fun job. Really wasn't kind of my forte. Didn't really want to lean toward that, but that's the only thing Mama would sign for at the time. Right. Did my 8 years as an intel guy. Decided to get out. I was playing some ball in college, and I kind of just took that route. And then did about 1.5 years out of the military. And then I decided, hey, it's time for me to get back in. I don't want to waste my time in the Army and all my training that I gathered from that. But at the same time, I don't really want to be back in the Army. Nothing wrong about it. It's just I want to try something different. My aunt, she used to run the Sims for the the JTAC guys for all the TACPs and everything. And
oh, wow.
It was like, hey, go check them out, man. They like to do the same stuff you like to do. And I was like, all right, cool. Went and sat down with some local guys that I knew that were TACPs. Kind of did like a little mock interview, if you would say. They were like, hey, you like to ruck? I was like, yeah, I enjoy rucking. They were like, hey, you like to work out? I was like, I'm a personal trainer, by trade. I enjoy working out. So they were like, can you sign here? I was like, yeah, I'll sign.
That sounds like that's all I need to know.
That's all I needed to know. And then I looked around the squadron, and it was just, to me, it was like such a brotherhood. It was like, hey, all these guys are working out, training together, and they want to get some. So I was like, I want to be a part of that. I want something that's going to push me. And then, I got very fortunate to become something like that.
Did a little part of your Army heart die when you had to admit that the Air Force had a really cool job for you and you were about to cross over?
What was funny was, honestly, I didn't know anything about TACP when I first started. I was like, what do they do? What's going on? And then when I joined, I was like, I got out of the Army to get in the Air Force to go back and hang out with the Army. I was like, so but it did work out. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. Like having that Army background, it really helped me because I know how the Army thinks. I know how the S2 thinks, so I'm like, okay, hey, I can correlate with these guys. But I will say, coming from big green to big blue is a very big change. And it's not so Army-fied over here. And it's pretty nice, to be honest.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm telling you, it's almost like being in the military over here on the Air Force side of the house.
Yeah, it's almost like you're a human being, not a number.
Absolutely. So you went through the application process. How did that go for you? Because cross-training, we get questions all the time. Hey, I'm in the Army or I'm in the Navy, I'm in the Marines, and I want to come over and I want to try out for TACP. So how hard was the actual application process, and what hiccups did you hit as you were making that transition?
Let's see. So for me, I was out long enough to where I had to go back to MEPS. So I would advise, don't ever do that. MEPS the second time is always worse than the first time. And that's just because I was older, had some injuries and everything, had to go through that. Got my MEPS process done, all that good stuff. And then it was kind of like going through my, I guess you would say, like a mini selection with the guys back at the unit. They were like, yo, hey, you've got to meet certain criteria before we're even going to put your packet in to go,
Sure.
So,
yep.
and that was a good thing for me because they hooked me up and made sure I was ready to go. The only hiccups I would say is, to be honest, it was just like understanding the grind. Changing over from Army to Air Force specifically wasn't really hard for me because I kind of understood the training process and understood, big numbers and what we were going to do. But, understanding that this was probably going to be the longest training process I've ever been through. So it's just just knowing that I had to get up every day and just keep working. But as far as the transition as a whole, it really wasn't that hard for me. It just kind of, I got to keep my NCO status from the Army, which was very beneficial, which was nice. It just kind of carried over and worked out pretty well.
Yeah. And it is same, but different. You had that good experience behind you where, the military is a very specific culture. It's a very specific group of people. And we tend to think on the inside that it's this huge thing, right? That, the Army is this big beast and the Marines are this whole different beast and the Air Force. And then you spend a little bit of time with your sister services and you're like, wait a second. I know it's a little bit of different terminology, but I know this game. Yeah. I know how to play this game.
Yeah. I will say though, once the swap kind of happened and fast forward a little bit, I guess, once I was in the schoolhouse, being around some big blue NCOs that were going through the same course as me, now I'm learning, hey, there's a different way to be an NCO rather than just be Army NCO. Like, hey, let's go, So
I love it.
I learned a lot, and it was very, very heartwarming to get that experience.
Yeah. Awesome. So take me back to phase one. You show up, you're finally blued up. You're in the Air Force. You're wearing the uniform and it's got a couple of different letters over that left side on that U.S. Air Force tape as opposed to that U.S. Army tape. So you kind of show up and you're through the shell shock of the transition and there you are and you get to phase one. What was the hardest part about that initial selection process as you guys are going through phase one of the TACP pipeline?
So phase one, or do you want to go back to where what's called, well, I was at prep. They call it SWCC now, but I was at prep. So
sorry. Yep. I skipped over a whole thing. It's like I've never done a podcast before.
No, it's okay. No worries.
Take me through SWCC.
So being prior service, obviously didn't have to go to basic. So I come straight to SWCC. And to be honest, when I first got there, I was a little upset. I was like, man, here I am going to basic training 2.0 as a freaking 8-year NCO. But I had to eat my words very, very fast. And what I mean by that was prep was the best thing that ever happened to me, I think, as far as condition wise. Like, it was one of the best situations, being able to work out 3 times a day, eat as much food as I wanted to, and just all I had to think about was wake up and make sure everything looked good and work out.
Sure.
And push myself to the best ability. I ended up, I was kind of a hefty boy coming back in, after being in the reserves. Sure. I lost 15 pounds at prep, but I was in the best shape of my life. Coming in right above 200, left about 185, and it was awesome. Their run program is awesome. The swimming, of course, those TACPs, we don't like to swim as much as UPJs and CCTs, but we'll hang in there, and that was actually a really good thing too. I think it helped as far as like mobility and just kind of decompressing, staying off the feet a little bit from the rucks. But that was awesome. That was an awesome experience, kind of going through that. And so then fast forward from there, we get done with prep and we go to the schoolhouse. And the schoolhouse is, it kind of hits you in the face real fast as far as everybody heard of the pits. You go to the pits, and the pits are just that. You're going to have fun. And if you don't have fun, you're gonna hate life. So the best advice for that one is just have fun, be loud, and don't be a spotlight ranger, and you should make it through.
Yeah, and for those of you that aren't picking up on the colloquialism, so a spotlight ranger is somebody that only puts out for the instructors, right? Like if you're a spotlight ranger, you're all motivated, you're all hooah, you're all excited, but it's only when the instructors are around. So that's what we mean. I do want to plug into something though. You talked about your time at SWCC, and you had previous experience in the fitness industry and as a trainer. We had the coaches on, they talked through everything with the strength and conditioning program, and you already hit on the run program. How prepared did you feel when you left SWCC? Now, obviously you don't know what's coming, right? You don't know what it's going to be like when you get on that bus from SWCC and you show up at the TACP schoolhouse. But after a little bit inside of those first couple of days, how physically prepared did you feel coming out of SWCC?
Oh, coming out of SWCC, I'm telling you, if I didn't have SWCC, I don't know if I would have made it through the initial part of the schoolhouse. Just me personally, like I said, kind of being out of the game for a little while and then coming back in, that kind of kickstarted everything. And then also, like, it's not just your workouts, it's not just your runs, your swims. It's they focus on like mobility. So like there were some days where we would, after our workouts, we had a mobility day. We're stretching and we're rolling out, and it taught you so much about the body. Obviously I had a little bit more knowledge than some of the guys, but there was even things that I was learning. And then, we're doing a whole in-body, does your whole fat percentage. So these guys are creating, hey, these guys are a little underweight, put some more weight on them, let's make them eat more, or this guy's a little overweight, he needs to stop eating so much. But then I think the best thing was the sleep. Dude, they track sleep like crazy. And like you get these nice beds, these nice pillows, you're even wearing these little rings that tracks your sleep, these wristbands that tracks your sleep, how you're recovering and everything. And whenever I left SWCC going to the schoolhouse, it was like, hey, my body's healthy, I'm strong, I'm lean, I'm fast, I was in shape. They really prepared us.
Man, like best possible scenario. You go in there just belly full of fire. You're running fast. You're throwing good weight around. Man, that had to feel really, really good showing up to that schoolhouse.
Definitely.
Yeah. So we show up, we get over to the TACP schoolhouse, and we're in it, right into phase one, prepared as we possibly can be. We know that there's going to be some heinous stuff coming, but we don't know quite what that is. I want you to talk a little bit about being an NCO. So I get this question a lot. I was also an NCO throughout my pipeline, and a lot of times I was the NCO I see on my team, which added a whole different challenge. You had those times behind you, right? Like I was an Air Force NCO that grew up, and I hadn't been an NCO really for that long before I hit the pipeline. So I was figuring it out as I go, but you had a good amount of time behind you being an NCO and being a joint NCO on top of it. What were some big challenges just in those first couple of days about being an NCO on that team? So for our cross trainees listening out there, how tough was it for you to really focus on yourself, but at the same time lead the team?
It's great you make that point as far as focusing on yourself and then leading the team, because when I initially got there, my team started out, we had 40 guys on the team starting out. We had 1 O straight out of the academy, and then we had 3 NCOs, another prior Army guy, and then we had a big blue O. So my thought process was, hey, the Army guy has more time than I do. The big blue O is more understanding of big blue than I am. So hey, I'm a keep my mouth shut and help out where I can. That lasted all of 2 days. And then the cadre was like, yo, you're NCOIC.
Yep.
So I was just like, all right, well, this is going to be a challenge, because first off, this is me in a new environment. As far as new people, I'm not really used to coexisting with, and like, how do I lead these guys when I don't even understand the Air Force as a whole myself? So, but I reverted back to my training. What do? I want to lead people. So I want to lead by example first off. And then second off, like, I just had to spend more time making sure I was squared away and understand. And to be honest, I wanted to make sure my O was squared away, because I was like, how can we lead if we're all messed up as well? So really what I did was I just created that coordination between the other two NCOs, and then also with my O. And we just took a lot of time as far as like divvying out tasks. And that was one thing I think that helped me a lot too. Instead of trying to do it all myself, I could divvy out tasks and be like, hey, I need this done. I need this done. Hey, you go do this. And that helped a lot. At first, I did get a little bit of a back push from a lot of the guys, because they're like, hey, this guy's coming out telling us, what are we doing? This, that, and the other. But sometimes in that chaos, when you're in the pit, if you don't have one person speaking up saying, hey, we need this done, you don't really get anything accomplished. And then you're going to be there in the pits for a long time. So that was really kind of a learning when to speak and when to kind of just, listen. So that was kind of a challenge for me, but it ended up working out. Me and the O had a very good relationship. And it was almost like him being new, he was like, look, hey, if you say that's what we need to do, I'm going to have your back. And I was like, well, that's fine, sir, but this is your team, so you make the decision, but I'm going to advise the best way I can. So,
man, kudos to you as an NCO, because that's exactly what you want. Like, let me be the first to tell you, and I'm going to quote Master Sergeant Justin Perrin, who's a good friend of mine, but it's called the Air Force, and it ain't the Air Friends. And sometimes we need leaders to step up in those situations, and the NCO has to be the one to do it. So while the officer may be in command, you're in charge as the NCO. And I'm glad to hear that you figured that out and that you used your prior training to kind of get there. As you were going through the academics, what surprised you the most about going through phase one? Because it is a lot of information, and you even had, I guarantee you had some land nav in your background. You had some rucking in your background. You had some of those things, or at least an orientation to those things beforehand. So what surprised you the most about phase one when you were going through?
Oh man, schoolhouse was, as far as academically, it surprised me as a whole. I wasn't really expecting it to be as challenging. I mean, I knew it was going to be pretty challenging, but just didn't understand it was going to be in that depth. And that's not to deter anybody away from it. But yeah, I did have the background. I was like, man, I was a best warrior competitor in the Army. I was like, I've got background in rucking. I've got background in land nav. But the land nav course you do at 3 level is some kind of real. You have to really be paying attention, And it was cool, because even myself as an 8-year NCO, I was learning things. I was learning new tricks, how to do things. So those guys they have down there are definitely the subject matter experts. And if you just listen to them, it'll work out. Now, as far as like radio stuff, I didn't really get a lot of time with radios in the Army because, like, again, Intel, I was behind a screen. Yep. But learned a lot of cool stuff, how to troubleshoot those and how to make those work and how to deal with all those gremlins. So, with that. And then I'm guessing as far as like paperwork tests, because we had a couple paperwork tests on just like subject matter stuff. The best thing with that was just make study groups. That's all we did was study group, and flashcards, and just quiz each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And that culture is important to establish, right? Like, hey, we may have to train during this part of the duty day, but it's even more important to get together afterwards. Hey, we're going to get together and we're going to roll out. We're going to focus on this mobility. Hey, we're going to get together and we're going to study tonight, or we're going to get together and we're going to go over gear or procedures or stuff like that. How much time did you find yourself spending after the duty day, taking in stuff from that day and then getting ready for the next day tomorrow?
Oh man. Well, really, it don't really get academically hard until like, I guess like what they call block 3 at the schoolhouse. So the first 2 blocks is mostly just all your physical stuff. And then it's mostly just your gear. And that is the thing you'll spend the most time on at the schoolhouse is, we're done by like 1700 every day, probably. And as far as being done back in your room, showered and cleaned up and like getting ready for bed, you're probably not there until another, 1900. You're probably pushing another 4 hours of like, now I got to get my gear ready. I've got to make sure all the boys got their gear ready, make sure we're squared away for this, make sure we got everybody's rucks look the same, everybody's carrying the same thing, make sure we all understand, like even before the pits start, we're spending a solid week on making sure all of our gear look the same. Everybody's gear, we understand how to line it up because it's always attention to detail. So that we did spend a lot of time with attention to detail, but it definitely pays off, and you understand that more the further you get along in the training. Because like when you get into your training, when you're out here in phase 2, you start realizing, hey, the smallest details can make a big difference.
A huge difference, right? One grid coordinate, like you're a JTAC, or you're about to be really, really close to now. Like how big can one grid coordinate mess everything up? It's a big deal, right?
I'm going to call myself out a little bit on that one, but the other day I was in my last sim, and we do a little thing to kind of keep our friendly grids away from our enemy grids. Put the friendly grids on the left side, enemy grids on the right side, and there was a lot of stuff going on, and I got a little too quick to the gun, and I called out an enemy grid, which was supposed to be on a friendly grid, and then I had to check myself, and that's kind of a checks and balances we have. We check all of our stuff real quick, and I was like, hey, correction, standby one, I got to give you the right grid. I gave you the wrong one. So and it was only like 2 numbers off. So, I mean, that was a big, small detail, but it was like a big change.
Yeah. And we get students and people that are getting ready to go in the pipeline. They're like, why does this matter? Why does marking my gear the exact same as my buddy matter? Why does all this matter? I'll tell you what, it matters more than you would know. Be in uniform, having your ruck set up in a uniform way so that if your buddy needs to get in your ruck, everything's in the same pocket. They can just reach in without thinking and grab it because it's exactly like theirs. So, man, that's a great way to drive that point home. You've mentioned it a couple of times. I don't want you to give away too much information. You don't have to say what's going on in there, but tell me about the pits.
Oh man, the pits are to me the pits were fun. The pits are great. You're going to go out there. Obviously, we have a standard workout that we usually do. It's called the OEX, and you guys will definitely get familiar with that. However, that can kind of get a little stagnant, kind of old as far as the cadres mind frame, because they do this all day, every day. So they get real creative. The main thing is like the pits are just a big square area, kind of like I would say like a half a football field area. And you have big podiums on all 4 sides of the square. That's usually where you would line up. We get our whole squad out there. Everybody's lined up, and they are down to the detail. So you will be squared away, dressed right, at attention when they walk up. And of course, we give the greeting of the day, all this good stuff, and you count off. And like it goes all the way down to the detail. If one guy misses the count, all right, now not only are you dropping and doing a workout, now you're going to do 90 seconds around the pits. And you have to go out the pit door, all the way around the pits and back. And if you don't make it, now you're finna do something next, and it just keeps going. And the main thing about that for me that got through it was like, as soon as the sun comes up, I know I got 30 minutes left, when the sun comes up, 30 minutes left. So
now we're talking,
keep pushing, keep enjoying it. And honestly, I just wanted to be as loud as possible for the guy next to me. And I was like, hey, I know he's hurting, so I know I'm hurting, but if he's hurting, I can push it through as well,
Yeah. And you share something with every single other Air Force operator out there, and it's watching your teammates screw up the count off. And you're just like, how, guys?
Yeah.
How did we screw this up? My favorite of all time, we're sitting on the pool deck. We were already having a bad day. And the instructor said, hey, count off by 2s. And the first guy goes, 2, Sergeant. And I just distinctly remember looking to my right where my officer was. And I was like, sir, I don't think today is going to go very well. And sure enough, off to the races.
That started it for us at SWCC. Hey, we're all lined up, and that's like, again, that's TACPs. We don't like the water, but count off as 2s, and you mess it up, and they're like, all right, 10 ups, here we go. And I'm like, I don't like 10 ups. I don't know what that is, but yeah.
How does this help me be a JTAC? There were always moments for me, especially when I went back through as an NCO, where I would just look around and I would be like, hey, I had a pretty comfy job. I was established in my job beforehand. And there's always this feeling where I would look around and there was just chaos. There's people getting dropped and there's exercises going on and I'm just absolutely smoked. Did you ever just look around and go, what am I doing? I can't really figure it out, but this is the greatest of all time.
Yeah. There was times at first it's kind of shell shock. Obviously, the first week you're just like, you're almost like a robot. You just want to go through the motions and do the right thing. You don't want to spotlight yourself. But then as far as it keeps going further, your focus kind of does open up and you're not so tunnel vision. Yeah, you start seeing. And for me, I was just, some of the mistakes that the young guys were making, I was just like, wow, what is going on? Like, why are they doing that? Why can't this guy count, or like get this guy figure out that we put the E tool on the right side of the rucksack instead of the left side? Like I just talked to him yesterday about it, but I had to understand that, hey, I can't get mad at that guy. That's his process. He's got to go through it. He's got to learn. And if me doing push-ups beside him doing push-ups is him learning, hey, that's the best thing I can do. So there was a lot of times where I was just like, man, what am I doing in this position? But you know what? Hey, I'm here. I might as well enjoy it while I'm here and push through, and we'll talk about it tomorrow.
Can't get out of it, baby. Might as well get into it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Might as well take a smile on your face and continue on. So you brought up an interesting point that I kind of want to dive into is you start talking about, the first couple of weeks, everybody, whether they like it or not, they're putting on a face, right? Whether it's a professional face or whether they're trying to kind of hide it. But then as people start to relax and you start to get used to the team, and the instructors do it, by the way, too. Like, let me open up this curtain. Instructors we're always playing a role, right? Like we're always in that instructor role. And then when you get more comfortable with the team, you let the team in a little bit and there's a little bit more give and take. But as those walls started to come down on the team, there's always those inner team personality issues that you have to work through. And those, because it takes all types, I guarantee on your teams, you had a million different personalities from a million different walks of life. So how did you manage all of those things, all of those interpersonal issues to get the team to work together effectively?
For me, I kind of took a little different route. I guess you could say. So when we were doing something as far as like pits or like cadre were giving us a task to do, my policy for the team was like, look, if you got a good idea and it makes sense, shoot it to me. If it don't, hold on to it and we'll talk about it later. But whenever we're out here and the cadre's like, hey, we got 3 minutes to do this, all I really want you to do is listen to what I'm telling you to do and then move your feet. So if that may not be the right answer, I may be wrong in that, if I may pick the wrong decision to go for that. But hey, guess what? We're going to do something. We're going to get it done. And then later on, come to my door in my room later on at night. Hey, Sergeant, why did you do this? Let's talk about this. Hey, maybe if you would have thought about this, and I'm going to try to take that in and soak it in and have that open door policy with all the guys on the team. So I felt like that kind of created a camaraderie, as saying like, okay, hey, Sergeant, I'm going to try to lead us as best as possible, but obviously understand that he may make mistakes, but we're going to talk about him and he's going to try to get better for it, So that kind of helped me as far as the curtains coming down on all the guys, because at first it was just everybody's like locked up, locked tight, trying not to mess up. But then you start developing those personal relationships and they realize, hey, after the duty day, we can talk just like human beings. We don't have to do this whole military, dress right, dress thing. It's just like, let's talk like friends. Let's understand each other and let's build that camaraderie.
Yeah, because those are going to be your best friends from now until you retire and even way further on after that. Those bonds that you forge in adversity, and especially when you're going through the pipeline, those things are going to be there forever. That shared experience with everybody that's ever been at Chapman Annex, whether they graduated or not, whether they became an operator or not, stayed in for a career or got out after one assignment, those things are not going to go anywhere. That shared experience is important. It's part of our culture. So that's where you start forging those bonds of adversity. As you got through block 1, block 2, block 3, there's 4 blocks in the first phase.
Correct. If I'm not mistaken, I think they just went to a 5th block. But okay. So whenever I went through, it was 4 blocks at the 3 level, and then you went to 2 different phases at FTU.
Okay, so we got through that first block, or the first real phase, right? What was it like knowing that you got through that first step?
It's funny because, obviously you get the beret at the end of the pipeline, at the end of the 3 level. You get done with tactical school apprenticeship course, you get the beret, and I mean, don't get me wrong, it's everybody's walking around. Everybody feels great. They feel a little.
Can't help but feel good, baby. Like anybody that says, "Oh," we sometimes we'll ask people and they'll be like, "Oh, well, I knew I had work to do," and you know what? Shut up, man. Put that beret on.
I wore a beret in the Army because that was our standard here. But let me tell you, when I got this beret, it meant a whole lot more to us, And when we all get to don those berets for the first time, we get our berets at the end of our Block 4 field. It just knowing that, hey, even though that crap sucked, you didn't really want to do it again, but hey, it was worth it, so you get that beret and you feel great, but at the same time, make no mistake, those cadre are going to let you know, hey, look, feel good today, but tomorrow you better show up to work because there's more to do. You may be a TACP, but guess what? You're not a JTAC yet. You may be a JTAC today, but guess what? You're not a JTAC. You're always got to keep working. So
the rent is due every day for that beret, my friend. And good on your instructors for letting you have it. I've heard some instructor friends of mine, say, they'll almost take the wind out of the sails of the students on that day. It's good that they gave you that permission to say, hey, feel good today, have your moment, go ahead. But like tomorrow, let's go back to work. What was the next step for you? So we graduated the apprentice course and we're ready to go to the FTU phase 1 and phase 2. So phase 1, you got out of the apprentice course. What does that phase 1 look like?
So we actually get out of the apprenticeship course, and the way our pipeline went from there was we went to airborne and then SEER. So we actually, I think we actually had one of the biggest classes ever go to airborne together as a whole. So I graduated with 30 people from my TACP apprenticeship course, which was, I think, the biggest class we ever had. but that was awesome to have those 30 guys. And I think out of those 30 guys just now, I'm still with like 25 of them, which is incredible.
Oh, that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
We got to go through all of the whole thing together, which was awesome. But anyway, so we go to Airborne is like, it's like 23 of us. We go to Airborne together, and we're super excited about it. But we also get our first taste. All the rest of the boys get their first taste of true Army school.
I was gonna say you're back at home. Everybody else is trying to figure it out. You're like Bane and Batman.
Well, see, that's
like,
the thing.
I was born into this. You guys are just
schoolhouse. I'm telling you guys, I'm like, hey, just wait till you get there. You're gonna figure it out. You're gonna see why I am the way I am. You know. And then we get there, and they come up to me and they're like, hey, Sergeant. So yeah, I know why you are the way you are. These Joes. These man, they're different. And I'm like, hey, man, every Joe has his spot, but yeah, you definitely understand that there's different levels to it, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
we cannot trust Joe. I'll tell you what,
you're not trusted Joe.
Joe is not allowed to have a lighter. If you give Joe 2 steel balls and you leave him alone for long enough, one's going to be lost and he's going to find a way to break the other one. Joe is not to be trusted.
So it's funny. Of course, we go there, and of course, half the Army doesn't even know who we are or what we do. And then we, of course, some of us play games with them. We tell them we're just here for the party. We're TACP party, you know. But at the same time, we also kind of we always want to be like, hey, where's the Rangers? We want to hang out with the Rangers. And then the Rangers are like, hey, where's the TACPs? So we kind of link up, do our thing, and hang out. But the cadre were definitely very, very cool with us. They knew we were here to get some, you know. So during the workouts, obviously, Airborne's not what it used to be as far as like physicality.
It never was, my guy. Let me tell you, from a guy that I went through as a regular Air Force dude back in, I don't know, 2004, 2005 or something, 2003 or 2004. I'll tell you, like, the workouts there, newsflash, everybody, man, the Army teaches you how to fall out of a plane. The Army has been teaching trucks how to fall out of a plane since 1945. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. So the workouts there are not going to kill you.
You could have definitely learned how to do this in a week, and they stretched it to 3 weeks.
Yeah, 5 days worth of training packed into 3 weeks worth of time.
But we had a good time, man. We stuck together, and we had a good group of boys. And of course, like, our whole background at this point is like how to work out. Like, all we did was work out and get smoked. So we enjoyed it. We learned to embrace that suck. So yeah, during workouts, when we're doing like I guess they're doing the what do you call it, the bend and reach. They're doing all these exercises in the arm, and we're just like, can we go pick up those logs over there and do stuff with it? Yeah,
log PT. It's like one day. You wish it was every single day for a little bit. Yeah,
exactly. But yeah, we enjoyed that. That was fun. Actually, jumping for the first time was pretty fun. Some of the guys had some stage fright, but we made them through it. We got them through it, and it was definitely an experience. Nobody got hurt. Obviously, we got all three of our guys through, and then from there, I literally got on a plane. I want to say it was like 2 days later after I graduated, and we straight to SEER school in Washington. So
nice. When did you go through SEER school? Like what part of the year?
Oh, summer. I got June. It was awesome.
Beautiful, gorgeous. It's the best time up in here in Washington.
I'd never been to the West Coast before. Never been to Washington, so I actually got a chance to get out there a week before my training started. So I'm just out there hanging out on orders, and they set me up at the hotel there, and me and a couple of other NCOs, we rented a car, and we were like, we're gonna go hiking, go explore a little bit.
Get it.
So it was
good on you.
Getting to see all that, and then SEER was definitely an experience in itself. I enjoyed it, you know, being from the South, like the woods, the outdoors. That's where I enjoy being anyway. So it was definitely a fun experience for me.
SEER was one of my favorite courses, to be honest with you. I got out of SEER, and I never felt more American. I never felt more proud to, you know, be of service and to be in service. So that's super awesome. I'm glad you had a good time. And for those that are listening out there, and you know, we're talking about being able to take time in the pipeline. It's another question we get all the time. Oh, was it just training back to back to back? No, if you do it right, you can still pursue hobbies. You can still go out and do these things that kind of fill that battery up or fill that cup up while you're in between schools. So good on you guys for getting together and finding those opportunities, man. Good on you.
And that goes through the whole house. So I treated it like I had prior college time. So like I treated it just like college, but in the military aspect. So Monday through Friday, hey, I'm working, I'm getting it, you know, and then Friday night and Saturday, we're going to decompress and recharge. Sunday, it's like come home, get all your gear ready, study, and get ready for the week, you know.
Man, you get my stamp of approval. That's the way I like to get after it. So we get done with SEER, and then unfortunately you have to leave the beautiful state of Washington in the best possible time of the year, and we're headed back towards Texas. So we get back down here. What was the next step for you?
So we get back to Texas, and they just stood up the new program a little while back called the FTU, and 2 different phases. The first phase is 16 weeks, and it's pretty much it's at Bullis, Camp Bullis, and north side of San Antonio. So if you guys haven't been familiar with Bullis, it's more hills in Texas than I thought. Definitely didn't know that.
Right? You get to that. Yeah, you get to that north end of San Antonio, and you're like, "Holy crap! There's actually hills up here." I could have used these in the land nav portion, but they were nowhere to be found.
Actually, that's the beginning of our kind of JTAC sims and everything. So we start doing our sims, but we're also at the same time doing our shoot, move, and communicate. I guess you would kind of the best equivalent to it would pretty much be the Air Force's version of like a mini Ranger school. So we had our Green Beret guys there that were tasked for us, and they were literally just giving us battle movements, how to move in like a squad or a platoon, how to do CQB, how to do like mounted patrols and all this good stuff. That way we can integrate with our counterparts and learn that. So that was a cool experience. But that was kind of the first time we got treated as, I guess we call it, get treated like big boys. So we come out of the schoolhouse, and now we're like, it's on us. If nobody's telling us, hey, if you don't show up, now we're coming to find you and going to smoke you. It's no, hey, you're treated like a big boy, so your big boy rules. If you don't show up, we don't need you. So it's more on you and your team to kind of be like, hey, grow up. This is your hot time. This is where you need to be. This is what you got to know by this time. It's on you now.
Yeah, absolutely. And how was that? Because a lot of people have a real hard time making that transition. They're kind of like waiting for people to feed them information. But the way that we do that, or the reason we do that, is because nobody is going to give you that information in the real world, man. Like when you get onto a team, people are just going to assume like, hey, you're the JTAC. You got to show up, be on time, be on target, be ready to go, and be ready to train. So how did you keep the dudes focused during that? Because it feels like it's not as restrictive, but it's actually more restrictive because it's on your person. It's on you individually. Yes. Every single day. Somebody isn't just directing you to what to do. So how'd you keep the dudes focused?
Man, I was very fortunate. Whenever I went to the FTU for phase 1, I had a couple more O's that were embedded in my team. So at this point, we had 5 O's on our team. And then I had a new, a higher enlisted guy than I was. And his background really helped as well. So we all kind of coexisted. Now, as far as us transitioning, it was just another day for us. All of this got college. We got prior experience. But as far as the younger guys, you really seen where it was like the younger guys sometimes are like, hey, what am I supposed to do?
What do I do with my hands?
Yeah, what do I do with my hands? Like, hey, where am I supposed to be at? Hey, what am I supposed to have? So to me, I think it was a great thing for them because that's kind of by design. The schoolhouse, all you have to do is just turn into a robot and just do what they tell you to do and go. Now, when you get to phase 1 of the FTU, you really get that chance to understand, hey, look, you got to think for yourself. You got to read through the lines, understand what you need, and transition. You're a big boy now. And that was cool because I think they really needed that. And that was awesome. Now, one thing I will say that helped us out a lot too, and this was just our team personally, and I'm thankful that we had this on our team, but us as the leadership on the team, we decided it was going to be a good idea for like every 2 to 3 weeks, we would have like an inter-team peer reviews. So we would not necessarily strat each one of us like, hey, what your ranking is, but we would give everybody in the team, we'd sit in our team room, and then one person at a time goes to the podium, and then we'd give each person on the team 30 seconds. 30 seconds to tell this guy what he's doing good, what he's doing wrong, what he needs to fix, and that right there opens a lot of eyes because obviously you don't want to hear the bad things about you, what you're doing, but that changed our total mindset, and that it changed us like, oh, hey, I didn't know that I had that problem. I didn't know that me being 2 minutes early was not actually being early. I'm kind of late because everybody else is 15 minutes early, me losing my gear kind of screwed everybody or something like that. So that really helped us out and kind of helped those younger guys too in the situation of transition from being told what to do all the time to now taking accountability of their own things.
When people hear stuff like that, they assume that it's this thing where it's adversarial or you're doing it to be mean. I have found that when you have those open, honest communication amongst the team, like when you have those, we call them 360s on this side of the fence, but when you have those peer reviews or those 360 evals, I feel like it brings the team closer. I feel like you guys are able to look at each other and go, oh man, I was screwing this up. Thanks for that input. Did you guys find that from those 360s?
Definitely. I know myself personally, I really did, because in the Army, we didn't really do that. I mean, you do your, interaction reviews and everything, but we didn't really do like hey, your personal peer review. But getting that, it was kind of hard for me at first. I didn't really like, the negative feedback I was getting because that's my personality. I'm more of a personality. I don't like to be told that I'm wrong, obviously, but
you and me both, brother. It hurts. It hurts that ego to hear those things.
It did. And I had a very good NCO on my team, and he was like, hey, brother, look, you're squared away as far as like an NCO. You're squared away is like you're always like pushing yourself. But there are things that you need to fix. And one of them is just being able to understand how to take that criticism and understand that we're not being rude to you. We're not being mean to you. Honestly, this negative feedback, we're saying that because we want you to be better. So when I looked through it from those point of view, I was like, you know what? Hey, maybe he's right. And then once I started taking that feedback, man, the whole team, it was just like we grew quicker together. And we were by far one of the strongest teams that ever come through the whole FTU as a whole, just because we had those. Yeah.
Got it, man. That's awesome. And I guarantee the floor of I just hearing how you're describing it, I wouldn't ever dare say that I've been a leader on those teams, but I've been a team member on those teams, and you can feel the floor of the team raising. You can feel your professionalism go up. You can feel your performance go up. All of those things, you can feel that you're on the right trajectory to make those things happen. So comparatively from the apprentice course, now we're in FTU, and we talked about the transition of what it was like from the apprentice course to the phase one. What was the most surprising thing that you saw in phase one, other than obviously being treated like you were an actual adult human?
Let's see. To me, it was the camaraderie of the team. Like, don't get me wrong, you're close at schoolhouse because you're always with each other. But as far as like understanding each other, learning each other, and learning each other's strengths and weaknesses. So obviously you had those peer reviews we were talking about, but we also learned where everybody has a strength, everybody has a weakness. But we would develop team study sessions. Our team itself, we just wanted to have we'd go home and create sims for ourselves just to run it through. And for me, I was like, man, that's an awesome thing because I don't see other teams doing that. And we dang sure didn't do that in the schoolhouse. So when we got here, it was like, we got to pass. And not only do I want to pass as an individual, but I want to bring all these teammates with me as well. So what do? We create team study sessions. I had buddies that were calling me like, hey, you got 15 minutes to go through a 9-line? I'm like, yeah, rip it, go, and we're ripping 9 lines and it's the weekend, I'm sitting at the bar and one of my buddies is like, give me a 9-line through the phone. I'm like, yep, cool.
Go ahead. This might not be the best feedback because it's a little bit late, but go ahead, send it, baby.
Go for readbacks when able. So but just developing that team chemistry and being able to everybody wanted to be better. And that was what was so cool because like everybody seen the kind of like not really seen the finish line, but they already had the beret, but now they're like, now I got to hold it. I got to get better every day. How do I get to that end stage? And the way to bring everybody to that end stage the best way possible was just, hey, we always got to keep grinding, keep getting it, and keep finding a new way to train and get better.
Yeah. Was there any distinct end to phase one of the FTU? Like, was there a culmination event or was there some sort of outbreak? And if so, just go into it.
So the final thing for us at phase one was the 14-mile ruck. And it sucks. I'm not gonna lie to you. This comes from a guy that I've been rucking for almost 11 years. I enjoy rucking, but I did not enjoy this one. Of course, I was battling a little bit of pain. I had a little bit of back strain stuff, but it's one of those things where you just push through it. Everybody's got those days where you're hurt, but you still got to roll through it because of the team. And but that culminating event was obviously where we do a 14-mile ruck right before we go into a last week of field. And that 14-mile ruck is pretty much all over Camp Bullis. And you're rucking, I want to say just dry weight is like almost just dry weight is like, I don't know, it's like 80 pounds. And it's no doubt. And of course you got all your water and all your other gear and all that good stuff too. But that was the thing. Once you got past that finish line and you seen it, it was just like, all I have to do is make it through field. All I have to do is make it through field. And it was one of those things where you had a little bit of a weight taken off of you, but then it was just like, hey, one more sim, make it through field, and then I'm good to go to strike phase,
Yeah. And that's what you got to do, man. Sometimes it's all you can do to get to lunch. Sometimes it's all you can do to get to that next event. Sometimes it's all you can do to get to the next mile. And I'm glad that you found a way through it. How many teammates did you graduate with out of phase one before you went to strike? So we were like 30. So did you lose anybody in that first phase?
So yeah, I want to say on team in phase one, we started out with 24.
Okay.
A couple of the guys were like held back for some other reason as far as physicals or whatever happened. But when we started phase one, we started with 24 people. And then actually in block four, block four of phase one at the FTU, we had one guy had like a family emergency in the field. So he had to kind of get washed back. So we graduated with 23 people, which was awesome, man. Because like you said, there was times where everybody felt like, everybody always is like, man, why am I doing this? This sucks. You know?
Oh yeah.
When you're in that pain train and you're like 8 miles in and you just come over the hump of halfway, you still got 6 miles left. It's just like, okay, next mile I'll quit. Next mile I'll quit. Yep. Next mile I'll quit. And you just push through. But being able to sit back and finally get through that and then watch all the other boys get through as well, because at this point we've been together for almost 2 years, so like they're brothers, like you said. So seeing that happen and all 23 of us making it through and then coming to phase two, it was an awesome experience.
Yeah, and I hear so much of, you always want to connect with somebody that you're talking to, right? I just hear so much of my own stories and my own feelings, and not to make it about myself. But I hear those reflections about what you're talking about, man. I just couldn't agree more. So you finally get it. You're getting ready to go to strike phase, and now it's time. Now it's time for the very first experience of being a no kidding JTAC. You've trained up. You're ready to go. How did the start of strike phase go? And can you just kind of lay it out, like pretend that I don't know what we're talking about, because I don't, because I'm stupid. But strike phase is where?
So strike phase is out here in Nellis Air Force Base out in Las Vegas. So that in itself, as a nutshell, for me was an experience. But
we were talking before you got on. You'd never been out to Vegas, huh?
Yeah, never been to Vegas. Again, small town. I graduated with 22 people in my town, or in my class. So coming here and seeing these big lights and these big buildings was definitely an experience for me. But it was cool. I'm glad that was paid for by the Air Force. Thank you.
Thanks, Uncle Sugar.
Yeah, the Air Force always has their cool stuff in all cool places. Not like the Army. Why do you want to go to Fort Hood? I don't know. But
Fort Leonard Wood.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
Fort Sill. What are we doing here? Why? What is out here? There's nothing here.
So yeah, we get through phase one, and of course, phase one you start like very, very, very minimalistic JTAC stuff. So you're doing your basic 9 lines, your basic call for fires, and that's just how to get ordnance on the ground. So you're doing that basic stuff, and you're mostly just doing your soldier and ranger skills. You're running around gunning and stuff like that. When I got out here, the first 2 weeks was, I'm not gonna lie, strike phase, it was like a water hose effect. Like they just hit you in the mouth with a water hose of information, but they do it in such a great way to where like there's no way you're not gonna understand it. And if you don't understand it, they're like, look, I don't care if it's past the duty day. Here's my phone number. Hit me up. Guess what? On the weekend, hit me up. Let's do some extra training. And that's the cadre coming to us. And we had never really felt that from cadre because, obviously, like you said, the cadre had to have a certain persona going through the whole situation. But now it's kind of like, hey, we know you're a TACP. We know you're like on the backside about to finish out this JTAC. There's no more trying to trip people. There's no more trying to weed out the weak. It's like, hey, we want to teach you. So, and that to me was awesome because these guys really care out here and they're really good at what they do. And they have no problem putting in more effort and more time out of their day to teach you. So yeah, the first 2 weeks was water hose effect of information, mostly of the same stuff we've already went over, but just more in depth, teaching us more how to do it, how to read a whole con-op, how to process that information, how to take everything out of a con-op and apply it to our situation, and start building our plan as a JTAC. How are we going to integrate these fires and these air power with the Army? What are we going to do? So it was really awesome getting that. And then for us, it was kind of a little different just because of the way we got air. But we went out to the FTX at week 3. So we go out to Fort Irwin, California, where NTC is for all the Army guys. We go out there and we get our live air from Blue Air. It's just a company that flies these little planes and their previous pilots or anything like that. So they work with us through 9 lines and we go through a whole FTX, which is awesome because it's like, hey, you have a different mission every other day. So you have a mission one day and then you'll train up for the mission the next day as far as like your planning, and then you have a mission again. So it's like every other day you're doing a mission, which is awesome because in phase 1, it was more like, hey, you may have a sim every 2 to 3 weeks. Here at phase 2, you have a sim every other day, whether it be
nice.
whether it be at the FTX, whether it be out in the MOA, or whether it be in the sim rooms itself. And I think that is what really just gave you more reps, more time of planning, and you're getting with your guys on the team, and you start bouncing ideas off of each other. And it's just like, man, I'm just so many brain cells being made right now, you know?
Yeah, exactly. What was it like that first time on a radio where you were no kidding, the guy talking to an aircraft, and did you feel like you made it? Like, you could say yes. You could tell me yes.
All right. So at first we get the PC-9s, obviously, and they're just the training planes. So like, yeah, that sounds cool. That's awesome. You're like, man, that's cool. But we actually got an opportunity the other day to go out to the live range out here and work with some A10 bubblers.
Let's go.
So getting that first time, and getting to actually give that cleared hot call and see those 30 Mike rounds come off ahead of target that you nominated, and that's a feeling where you're just like, you want to call mama and be like, Mom, I think I made it, you know?
Yeah. Man, and good on you, because you did, man. Call in live. Like, imagine how many people you'd have to talk to in the world. You'd have to line everybody up in the world. You have to go down the line and go, have you ever called in live ordnance from an aircraft? Have you ever called in live ordnance? And you got to do it. And you got to do it next to some of your best friends under the watchful eye of instructors out of the strike phase. That had to be just an absolutely good feeling.
It was awesome. I actually got to do it with the guy you mentioned earlier, Master Perrin.
Yeah, get it.
He was out there, and what was funny was he had the birds come on first, check on and everything. And he was like, hey, guys, we got some 2,000-pounder bombers, but the bombs, so I'm going to drop them. He dropped 12 clicks away. Obviously, he takes the cool ones, but, you know, matter of fact, he should. You know, he's the so he takes them, and obviously us as brand new JTACs, we're listening to this guy that is like weapons school qual JTAC, and he's like shit hot on the mic, and you're just like, it's like you're staring at dad. You're like, this dude's great.
Exactly.
You know, they're trying to pick up everything you can with your notepad out there and write it, circle it. Yep, that sounds sexy. I'll use that one next time, you know?
Yep.
And then all of a sudden a 2,000-pound bomb goes off 12 kilometers away from you, and you still feel the shock wave. And you're like, what just happened? You know? So it's a very cool experience, and we all enjoyed that. And it was very cool that the A10 pilots gave us that opportunity, and the weapons school guys kind of got with the TACP guys here at phase 2, and we all actually, every one of our guys from our team got a chance to go out there to the knitter and drop a live ordnance from an A10, which was awesome.
Man, that is just the coolest thing on the face of the planet. I've said this a million times. Peaches and I talk about it. Being a PJ is cool. Doing medicine the first time that you actually feel like you stopped a human from dying, like for us, that's a pretty big deal. The first time that you get a save, right, that's a pretty big deal. So that's what I connect with. But I've said it a million times. Peaches actually took me out. The first time that I ever dropped live ordnance, Peaches took me out in England, and I got to call in under his watchful eye and actually call ordnance. And the second that it went off, I looked at him and I said, hey, man, I know now why people want to be a combat controller. People want to be a JTAC. People want to be a TACP. So that had to be an amazing feeling. And speaking of Peaches, I heard he might have shown up for a workout with y'all out there. How'd that go?
Oh man, it's great. So the workouts out here at phase 2 are phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, they're good at phase 1 of FTU, but the coaches out here are really like, hey, if you don't show up and put out, like, there's no reason for you to be here, you know. And it's an awesome thing, because like the workouts they design for you, you're gonna get it. We have our days where we do our strength training, but we also have our every Wednesday and every Friday, we know it's going to be the same workout. And Wednesday is what we call 8 lanes of pain. And it's just a kind of a circuit training type thing. And then Friday we have a circuit training as well. So I think Peaches might have showed up on a Wednesday or a Thursday, and he was kind of doing his own thing. And then a couple of us NCOs was like, hey, Chief, why don't you show up on Friday for the good workout? And he was like, you have to pay me to get out here, you know? He's like, I'm getting too old. And I was like, nah, Peaches, you still got it. So Peaches shows up.
Nice. He
shows up on Friday, and it's like, hey, we know what it is. You know, we're already like 3-4 weeks into the FTU. So at this time, we're already acclimated. We're getting it, you know. And it's one of those things where, so it's a circuit workout. We do a 10 cows on the bike. You got 30 seconds to do it, and you got a 30-second rest. And then there's also, you got 125 meters on the row, 125 meters on the ski erg. And then you also have, I want to say it's like 8 burpees. And also you have to do 0.08 on the treadmill in 30 seconds. So it's just a 30-second on, 30-second off, and you just rotate for 5 rounds. And it's a burner. It's one of those things where, like, I tell you what, it was actually funny. We get through it, and of course everybody's watching Peaches because he's the new guy in our eyes.
Of course.
He's the new one.
Of course.
He's the new to the exercise. He's got to show up. And hey, he's getting there. He's right there with us. He's sweating and he's getting it. And if you miss the time, like let's say I don't make the 10 cows on the bike in that 30-second allotted time, you got to raise your hand. And now the coach is like 1, 2, and because every time you do a workout, you got to pay for the end of it. Everybody
pay the man.
So I want to say Peaches was making pretty much all of them, and then we got done with the 5th round, and I think my last thing was the bike, I believe. And the bike to me was the hardest one. So I get done with my 10 cows, and I'm breathing hard, and I'm laying down on my bike on my back. Peaches comes by, and with his little grin, and he's like, "Hey man, get up from there. Stop feeling sorry for yourself." And I was like, "Peaches, I'm not really feeling sorry for myself. I'm feeling sorry for you because I don't think you made that last round." He's like, I hear you. But
oh man, I love it. No, in his defense, those are all tall guy exercises. Rowers, exercise, assault bikes, like those are tall guys. And as you saw in real life, Peaches is only like 3.5. He can't even ride roller coasters.
Yeah. I will say that. But hey, I tell you what kind of all grew us some more respect for him too was like this guy. We had to pay up for something we had messed up on as far as the workout like 2 days prior, and it was get ups. We had a 45-pound weight get ups, all the way down to our back, all the way back up, and I think we had like close to 60 get ups with it. And what's Peaches do? Just like any other main NCO, he grabs a 45-pound plate and he hops in the circle and he does every one of them with us. So to us, it was just like mad respect, and it was really cool that. Here's a guy that's not even in our career field. Yeah, obviously he's special warfare, but he's not even in our career field. Shows up for the challenge, and he busts it out,
Yeah, absolutely, man. And of course he did. I already knew how that story ended because I know who Peaches is as a person, man. You didn't even have to tell me. So that's awesome. That brings us to the very last thing. So you're coming off of, it's less than 24 hours. You hit that very last thing, man. That very last thing. And that's how we open this bad boy up is, man, you got done, you got word that you passed, and all of this time, almost 3 years of your time, 8 years before that in the Army, all of this time has led up to this moment. How are you feeling right now after the end of this pipeline?
Every day's Bulletproof Friday. It's awesome. Like you not going to lie, you get a little nervous going in that last sim, but then once you knock it out and you get through your debrief and your instructor's like, hey, check it out, man. You're effective. You're good to go. Like sign here. And it's definitely an awesome feeling. And then, not just for myself, obviously you connect with these guys on your team, and the next thing you want to know is like, hey, did such and such pass? Did he pass?
Yep.
Some guy that may have been struggling, like, hey, how's he doing? Hey, make sure he's good to go. So knowing everybody got through it, it's a wonderful feeling. It's nice. It's a weight lifted off, and it's kind of like, all right, now I get to rest a few days until I'm back at the unit, and then I'm hit the ground running again.
Then it's congratulations. You're back at the bottom of the totem pole, and you're the new guy on team. So
everybody shakes your hand, and they're like, all right, get to the back. Go get it ready. Go grab it.
Go take the trash out, nerd.
Yeah.
Congratulations. All right, man. So we ask everybody that's come on, we ask them kind of the same question, and we talked about it beforehand as we were texting back and forth as you were getting ready. What advice would you have for somebody that wants to come in this crazy thing that we call AFSPECWAR? What would you tell that prospective person if they were like, hey, man, I'm thinking about trying to become a TACP. I'm not really that sure of it. What would you tell that person?
First and foremost, I would say be sure about it. So be sure about it. And if you're not up for the challenge, if you don't like to be challenged, this career field is not for you, but that's not to deter you. But I would say understand your why. Know your why. Know what pushes you. For me, I've got 3 beautiful children. And so when things got hard, I was just like, hey, daddy can't quit now. I got to be a good example. Like I got to keep pushing. I don't want to go home after being away for this long empty-handed, because now I can't justify why I've been gone. And then have goals, push yourself. But I think the best thing that helped me was I found a teammate that I was really, really close to in the pipeline, and he challenged me. And that was just awesome for that. So like he was somebody that held me accountable. So on things that like, hey, maybe I wanted to like, you always get those curves sometimes. Maybe you're hurting today. Your back's hurting and you don't want to pick up that crazy heavy ruck or something. Your buddy's like, hey, I'm doing it. Pick it up. Let's go. And that kind of leads into the next thing. When you have that buddy like that is really close to you, not only can you not want to quit on yourself, you don't want to quit for him. So it's just have that partnership between them and just understand your why. That would be the best advice.
Man, I cannot thank you enough for coming on and for really laying out what it looks like in the TACP pipeline, because you obviously have the most recent experience from all of us at One's Ready. And to be honest with you, everybody inside of ST, man, congratulations. I know that we give each other a bunch of crap all the time, and we're always bagging on each other, kind of inside of these circles, but people outside of the circle are going to hear this. And from me to you, I'm at the end of 20 years. You're at the very beginning of what's going to be a very successful career. Man, congratulations. You and your teammates have done something that less than 1% of anybody can even say that they even tried, let alone succeeded in. So from us at the One's Ready team and the larger enterprise, man, congratulations. Pass my congratulations on to the team as you guys get ready to get those JTAG patches and get out to your unit. I just want to say for everybody listening out there, thanks so much for following along and following the program. Check us out at onesready.com. See everything. We're on all podcast players, and hit us up on the DMs. We're happy to do anything. My friend, if you need anything from us specifically, you got our numbers. You text us right away. But I want to say thanks for coming on, and I appreciate you sitting down and laying this out, hopefully for the next generation of Air Force special operators. So thanks a bunch, man.
Thanks, Aaron. I appreciate y'all guys having me and let me kind of tell my story, and hopefully they help somebody else coming through the pipeline, man. I appreciate it, and I'll definitely let the boys know. Maybe you can come grab a workout with us before we leave.
Don't you dare threaten me with a good time. I love them Vegas ops, man. All right. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We'll see you next time.